She unexpectedly stepped in for her sister. What she discovered changed their lives forever. Emma Wilson felt her heart pounding as she rushed into the hospital. Her sister Lily was hurt, another casualty of reckless living. The news came like a lightning bolt, snarling anger, fear, and a deep-seated obligation that had always been part of Emma's fabric. What was Lily doing behind the wheel, she thought bitterly, as she navigated through the sterile corridors, ready to face the mess that lay ahead. When she finally found Lily in the hospital room, the sight shattered her heart. Her sister lay pale, tangled in tubes, looking smaller than she ever had. It struck Emma like a thunderclap. How had her younger sister spiraled so out of control? This chaotic world that surrounded Lily, the job that didn't pay enough, the credit card debt mounting like a storm cloud, was one Emma never truly understood until this moment. But she was here now, and she would do what she had always done, shoulder the burden. "Hey, Lily," Emma whispered, brushing a strand of hair from her sister's face, her voice quaking, yet determined. Little Daniel clutched her leg, his wide eyes reflecting fear and confusion. Emma knelt beside him. "It's going to be okay, sweetie." Holding her son anchored her, but an overwhelming wave of responsibility crashed over her. She was stretching herself thin again. As days passed and she balanced late-night shifts with caring for Daniel, Emma found herself peeling back. Layers of Lily's life's secrets buried beneath the surface were surfacing like debris in murky water. With each visit, she dug deeper into the mystery of her sister's spiraling finances, bills, overdue notices, and her extravagant lifestyle filled with social media selfies that painted a false picture of success. Emma clenched her fists, feeling the sting of betrayal and fear. How could she? Who does she think she is? The whispers of their small town only intensified when they heard the rumors swirl about Lily's reckless choices. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Emma sat on the worn sofa in her living room with her father's photo looming above the mantel, tension brewed. He was a proud veteran whose job at the factory had vanished, mirroring the collapse of their dreams. Emma clenched her jaw, readying her voice, but all she could feel was the weight of her own unrealized desires clashing against the chaos of Lily's life. As income dried up and bills piled high, desperation laced Emma's resolve. She organized a community fundraiser, rallying the town to come together like they always had: potlucks, farmers markets, neighbor helping neighbor. Yet, just as familiarity wrapped its arms around her, a corporate leader from their family's past resurfaced, a reminder of the inequality that had dogged their father's footsteps. It felt like a slap in the face, a dark surge of helplessness that and the whirlwind of emotions Lily stirred. They were forced to confront their painful connections, the misunderstandings festering between them over the years, and Emma realized the love they had for each other was buried beneath layers of resentment. Would she be able to help Lily rise above the burdens their family had carried for so long, or would this facade of success ultimately push them apart? Emma clenched her fists, feeling the pulse of possibilities. The stakes were too high, the very essence of family hung in the balance. Emma awoke the next morning to the sound of rain tapping persistently against the window, a soft reminder of the storms that seemed to follow them. She rubbed her eyes, feeling every bit of exhaustion creeping in. Little Daniel had fallen asleep in her arms the night before, and now his tiny hand was still clutching her shirt like a lifeline. She smiled at him, but the weight of responsibility loomed heavily, pulling at her heart. The fundraiser was only days away. Emma had never organized something this big before, but there was no time for self-doubt. Lily needed every bit of help they could muster. She hugged Daniel tight and kissed his forehead, then rose to face the day. As she stepped into the kitchen, the scent of burnt coffee greeted her, a reminder of the multiple cups that had gone to waste in her frantic mornings. She poured herself another, the caffeine hitting just in time as a notification buzzed on her phone. It was a message from a friend, asking about the fundraiser. It was sweet, but it ignited a swirl of anxiety. What if no one showed up? What if they couldn't raise enough money to help Lily? Determined, Emma grabbed a pen and started jotting down names of potential donors and volunteers. The community had always rallied behind one another, but now Emma needed them more than ever. With each name, a flicker of hope ignited within her. Later, as she prepared lunch, thoughts of her sister flooded her mind. Closing her eyes, she envisioned her sister before all the chaos, the carefree laughter, long walks through the park, and shared secrets over mugs of steaming cocoa. But now, what had replaced that was heartache and frustration. A knock on the door interrupted her reverie. Emma opened it to find Samantha, the town's florist and one of Emma's best friends, standing there with a bouquet of vibrant flowers. "I heard about Lily," she said, her voice soft yet strong, "and I just wanted you to know I'm in. What can I do to help?" "Thank you, Sam. I'm organizing a bake sale. I could use all the cookies and help I can get." Emma felt the walls around her begin to shift, a crack of light penetrating her worries. As they strategized, Samantha's presence filled the room with warmth and laughter, grounding Emma amidst her rising fears. It felt good to share the burden. For a brief moment, it was manageable. The days melted into one another and the fundraiser loomed closer. Emma fought against her nerves each evening, but stepping into the gym on the day of the event felt surreal. Tables lined the walls, filled with homemade goodies, posters, and a donation box standing prominently in the center. As the crowd began to trickle in, Emma felt an overwhelming wave of gratitude. Familiar faces lit up as they approached the tables, but as she scanned the sea of expectant smiles, the whole world tilted. A figure she hadn't seen in years walked through the door, causing her stomach to drop. Jack Connors, the corporate leader who had once toyed with their father's dreams, was here. He stood tall, exuding confidence, and for a moment, Emma felt her desire to confront him burn fiercely. But taking a deep breath, she reminded herself of the reason behind this event. "Stay focused, Emma," she whispered under her breath, her pulse quickening as he made his way toward her. Would he see the hurt that ran deep? Or could he help bridge the gap for her family? "Emma," he began, his voice smooth yet edged with irony. "I've been hearing quite a bit about this fundraiser. I have to say, it's impressive." Her heart raced. What was he really after? Just as she was about to respond, a crash echoed from the back of the room. Emma's head whipped around, her stomach sinking as she rushed toward the source of the noise. Just as she reached the commotion, she spotted Lily, standing unsteadily, the pallor of illness replaced by a fierce determination. Was this the moment things would finally change? Would Emma find the strength to mend their fractured bond, or would the weight of the past shatter them completely? Lily stood defiantly at the edge of the crowd, her frail frame trembling but her eyes ablaze with a spirit Emma hadn't seen in months. The noise around them faded, and all Emma could focus on was her sister's fragile courage. "Lily!" she gasped, panic seizing her heart. "Emma, I'm okay." Lily called out, her voice stronger than Emma expected. "I wanted to help." Emma's breath caught. Everything in her urged to shield Lily, to take her back to safety, away from the chaos. But this wasn't just about keeping her sister safe anymore. It was about standing together, a family that had been through so much. "Are you sure?" Emma managed, stepping closer. "You shouldn't be here. You need to rest." But Lily shook her head, her chest rising and falling as she steadied herself. "I can do this. We can do this together." Just then, Jack's voice broke through, drawing Emma's attention. "Lily, right? You've grown up a lot since the last time I saw you." His tone was casual, but there was a darkness in his eyes. Like a predator watching its prey. Emma stepped in front of Lily instinctively, even though the thought of confronting him made her stomach churn. "What do you want, Jack? This isn't a space for your games." He smirked, as though Emma's defense sparked some obscure amusement. "Just making conversation. I hear things." He gestured around at the community gathered. "You have a good turnout. Impressive for a fundraiser, but is it really enough? Do you even believe you'll reach your goal?" A wave of embarrassment rose in Emma, flaring hot against her cheeks. But underneath the embarrassment was a fire of anger. "That's none of your business." She shot back, her voice trembling with indignation. Before he could respond, the gym door swung open again, and in marched several others from the community, fellow parents, friends, even students from the school. The atmosphere thickened with excitement and energy, a wave of support that washed over Emma, mingling with her fear. Lily took a step closer to the donation box, determination etched on her face. "I might not be able to do everything, but I can do my part. We need to fight for what matters." Emma couldn't help but feel a surge of pride and anxiety all at once. Would Lily's determination inspire others? Or would it crumble her sister into stillness once more? The energy swirled into action. Donations were exchanged for goods, laughter mixed with light conversation, and before Emma knew it, that feeling of dread started to dissipate. The fundraiser was about to become something far more significant than she'd ever imagined. But just as the momentum built, Jack took another step forward, his eyes glinting with suspicion. "And what if this all doesn't work out? What if the funds aren't enough?" Those words hung in the air like a guillotine, and Emma felt her heart thud loudly. Fear crept back in, tightening its grip around her. What if he was right? What if they failed? Suddenly, the room felt smaller, and the crowd's energy started to dim, but right then, Lily turned, unexpected wisdom in her gaze. "Sometimes it's not about how much you raise, but how much you bring hope. So let us show them what hope looks like." A cheer erupted, and Emma's heart swelled with mixed emotions: fear, love, and a flicker of hope she hadn't felt in ages. The room was alive, but the looming presence of Jack reminded her that shadows still hung around their family. Just then, Emma's phone buzzed again, cutting through the noise. A message from Samantha, urging her to look at the donation tally. The number made her stomach drop, chills racing down her spine. What had they really raised? As reality set in, the moment cracked like a fragile glass on the edge of a table ready to shatter. What if it wasn't enough? What if they had to confront Jack once more? Emma, fighting the tightness in her chest, gathered her strength for what was to come. Would this be the moment they met their potential, or the point where everything fell apart? The stakes were higher than ever. Would they all band together to face the truth, or would fear keep them divided? Emma's heart raced as she looked at the notification on her phone. Her hands shook slightly as she opened the message. The donation tally gleamed back at her far below what they had hoped for. It felt like a physical blow, a weight settling over her shoulders. They had poured their hearts into this event, and now... "Lily," she whispered urgently, her voice barely rising above the din of the community chatter. "We need to talk." But Lily was beyond her, already stepping away from their protective bubble, seeking out the nearest table overflowing with baked goods and homemade crafts. The girl was on fire, igniting the spirit of their cause, rallying the crowd's energy into something vibrant and alive. Emma felt an odd mix of panic and admiration. With each moment that passed, her sister was discovering a part of herself she hadn't known was there, a flicker of self-assuredness that made Emma's chest swell with pride. Yet, at the same time, the urgency clawed at her insides. They couldn't face another disappointment, not again. "Lily, please." She called out, edging closer, drawn by the magnetic force of her sister's spirit. "We may not be hitting our goal." Lily turned, shining with an unwavering belief that made Emma's heart thump wildly. "Emma, it doesn't matter. Look at everyone here. They're believing in us. That's the real victory." Even as those words tumbled from Lily's mouth, doubt flickered beneath Emma's skin. She had fought so hard to keep hope alive, but the reality of their situation felt like a cold shadow. Still, the energy in the room swelled around them, vibrant and alive. She could feel it whispering to her. A few feet away, Jack lingered, watching them with a calculating gaze. Emma resisted the urge to confront him again, she couldn't let him steal this moment of strength from her sister. Jack's doubts weighed heavy on her mind, nagging at her confidence. "Are you sure, Lily?" Emma asked carefully, trying to keep her voice steady, curious to see if possible cracks had formed in her sister's newfound confidence. What if this isn't enough? But Lily didn't back down. Her smile was unwavering, lighting up her face like a beacon. "Sometimes we just have to believe. People can surprise you. Sometimes hope is all we have, and that's enough." The energy surged again, pulling Emma along with it. Community members started to rally around them, creating impromptu circles of laughter and conversation. Each exchange sparked louder enthusiasm. She felt drawn into it, a part of something greater than herself, something that reached far beyond the numbers on a screen. Emma glanced at the donation box only halfway full. Panic returned, but Lily squeezed her hand, the warmth seeped through, banishing the cold doubt. In that moment, inspiration struck Emma like a bolt of lightning. What if we share our story? Show everyone why we're fighting. Exactly. Lily beamed, her fervor igniting Emma's own spirit. Show them why hope matters. Jack's smirk faltered as whispers of their journey wove through the crowd like a spell. The buzz of conversation shifted, a ripple of familiarity filling the room. People were listening, rallying together as stories spilled forth, joys, aches, triumphs, and losses shared passionately. Emma found herself losing track of time, lost in the warmth of community and newfound purpose. Laughter and happiness were infectious. Hope seemed to grow, blossoming like wildflowers breaking through cracked pavement, and it filled the gym with an energy she hadn't realized she needed. Suddenly, a voice broke through the laughter. Samantha stood, wiping away tears of laughter and joy. What if we make it personal? A hope wall where everyone can pin stories of why they came here today. The crowd erupted in agreement. Emma watched as Lily took the lead again, eagerly directing everyone to gather materials. The room was transformed, laughter shifted to focused energy as they worked together. But amid the growing excitement, Emma felt a shadow loom. Jack hadn't left. His eyes followed them, a glint of something dangerous lurking beneath the surface. What would he do next? As they turned their stories into hope, Emma knew they were still at the mercy of the obstacles that lay ahead. The echoes of Jack's doubts were still fresh in her mind, threatening to surface again. Just then, a loud crash echoed through the gym, followed by a shout. Emma's heart plummeted as the crowd fell silent, all eyes turning to Jack, who stood amidst scattered papers, a sly smile creeping across his face. Something was about to change and Emma could feel the air thickening with tension. What was Jack planning now? Would he destroy everything they had started to build? The room held its breath, every pair of eyes crushed together in a bubble of uncertainty. Emma's stomach twisted, dread pooling like lead in her chest. Jack stood with the remnants of the hope wall, bits of paper fluttering to the ground like fallen leaves. The murmur of the crowd faded into a hush, and she could feel Lily's hand tightening around hers, a lifeline in the storm. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jack's voice boomed, dripping with mock enthusiasm. "Isn't this a wonderful display? A parade of hope and dreams, all pinned to a wall that's about to come crashing down." He held up a crumpled sheet, laughter bubbling from his lips. "Hope doesn't pay the bills, does it? How much do you really think sharing your stories will change anything?" Emma cringed at his jeering tone, but before she could step forward, Lily surged ahead, shaking with passion. "It's not about the money, Jack. It's about connection and community. Look around." Eyes blinked wide in surprise at her defiance, and Emma felt pride swell within her, merging with the fear that had gripped her heart. Jack leaned back, smirking. "Sure, but the reality is that hope won't fill that box. This community won't change our situation. You can't breathe life into a dead cause, right?" Anger flared within Emma, and she knew she had to speak. "You think this is all just about money? People have shared something precious today. Their stories." She fought to keep her voice steady, drawing strength from the presence of her sister. Those stories matter. We matter. A tension crackled in the air, and the crowd shifted uneasily, caught between Jack's derision and Emma's fire. Several faces turned to Emma, confusion slowly bending into understanding as her words echoed in their hearts. Hope can inspire action. Lily added, her voice ringing clear and strong. It's not a dead cause if we're all fighting together. Our stories unite us. Jack rolled his eyes, crossing his arms as if dismissing them both. But doubt flickered across the faces of those listening, and Emma could see the tide slowly turning. But Jack wasn't done. Fine, let us see how strong this connection really is. He strode toward the donation box, raising an eyebrow. Any last-minute bets? Let us see if this hope actually translates to cash. If it doesn't, I'm calling it a day. Emma felt a panic setting in. The thought of losing the momentum they'd built in this short time felt catastrophic. No! She shouted, shaking her head as if trying to wake the room from a nightmare. But her voice sliced through the air, desperate and raw. Jack's lip curled into a sneer as he caught Emma's eye. Is your sister going to save the day again? What will she offer this time? For a moment, time froze. Emma glanced at Lily, who stood firm, her eyes fierce with determination. It was as if the world had shrunk down to just the two of them. In that moment, Emma understood. They weren't just fighting for their cause, they were battling for every person who believed in them. The crowd surrounded them, vigilant and intense, releasing bursts of murmured agreements, urging each other to dig deeper. It was magic. They would not let Jack turn this moment into defeat. We'll show you. Emma shouted, rallying her resolve. If we can't fill that box today, we'll make sure this community remains strong. We will continue to fight. The energy surged again. The crowd, once hesitant, now surged forward, ignited by the possibility that emerged from their unity. One by one, donations began to flow in, a trickling stream that turned into a wave. But Emma's eyes drifted back to Jack. She could see the challenge twisting in his expression, a fire igniting behind his facade. What lay beneath that surface? As emotions swirled and hope seemed to radiate in bursts around her, Emma made one crucial decision: she would not let fear dictate the narrative today. Together with Lily and the rising crowd, they would push against Jack's darkness. The room seemed to vibrate with tension as it split between hope and hostility. Behind Jack, a group of supporters stepped forward, eyes alive with uncertain resolve. With the donations climbing, Emma's heart soared. But uncertainty nipped at the edges of her mind. What was Jack's next move? Would he fight back harder now? Emma could feel the stakes rising with each heartbeat. Would their unity endure against the challenge ahead? With hope swirling, the true battle was just beginning. The atmosphere was electric, every heartbeat synchronized as the crowd rallied. Eyes sparkled with a fresh determination, one that wasn't just pulled from thin air but rooted deeply in shared stories and communal strength. Emma felt the pulse of hope thrumming in her veins, a stark contrast to the anger radiating from Jack as he bristled under the changing tides. Look at them! Lily shouted, her voice slicing through the air with clarity. They see the value in this. It's not about what we have now, it's about what we can create together. For a moment, Emma's heart swelled with pride as supporters echoed Lily's sentiment, expressing their own reasons for standing here today. Individual voices rose above the murmurs, a young father talking about his daughter's dreams, a single mother sharing her struggle to make ends meet but still believing she could build a better life with help from others. Each story was a thread weaving a fabric of hope, stronger than Jack's ridicule. Jack stepped back, a glimmer of uncertainty flitting across his face. You really think your little speeches will change anything? His bravado was wavering, but he stood firmly planted. You need money and resources, not dreams. Emma couldn't let him win this moment. And you need people more than you realize, Jack. You underestimate the power in our stories. A chorus of agreement washed over her. One donation after another flowed into the box, and with each crumpled bill dropped inside, Emma felt the weight of the crowd's solidarity becoming tangible. It wasn't enough yet, but it was a start, a rallying point that couldn't be crushed by Jack's cynicism. The crowd surged forward, voices rising in encouragement, anticipation lingering like a sweet perfume. Emma felt their energy lifting her, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. She could taste the hope in the air, both thrilling and terrifying, but from somewhere deep, a shadow loomed. Jack's gaze flickered around the room, assessing, calculating. "If we're really going to do this," he said slowly, "let's make it interesting. A challenge." Emma's heart sank. "What do you mean?" "We raise the stakes," he said, a grin creeping onto his face. "I'll match whatever you raise today. But if you fail to fill that box, I get to shut this whole thing down permanently. No more hope wall, no more stories." Gasps rippled through the audience, but before fear could take hold, Emma stepped forward. "We won't back down. Not now." Her voice was steady, but she could feel the weight of his challenge pressing down. Lily squeezed her hand tight. "We'll do it. Together." Around them, the crowd buzzed with newfound determination. They were inspired. And even if doubts crept in, they hardened their resolve. Without hesitation, Emma took charge, urging people to dig deeper, to share more stories. Each tale was a rallying cry, and every new voice added strength to their collective heart. But behind it all, Emma couldn't shake the feeling of ominous clouds gathering. What if they didn't reach their goal? What would happen to their community, their belief, their hopes, if Jack's challenge destroyed them? Emma searched the eyes of the crowd, hoping to see unshakable faith mirrored back. She saw it. Flickers of trust, determination, but also fear. The donation box began to fill more quickly, the stacked bills gleaming like medals of resilience. With each new contribution, Jack's facade chipped away, revealing a simmering rage beneath. Emma could almost taste victory, the air thick with it. But would it be enough in the end? The ticking clock echoed in her ears, heartbeat rising with urgency. They needed to do more, not just for the goal but for the very soul of their community. With Jack poised to strike again, Emma felt the stakes climbing. They had come too far to let despair back, and now that the crowd began to shift and the tension electrified the air once more, Emma felt something ignite within her, a fierce resolve. They would fight with everything they had, but at what cost? "Let us show him!" Emma shouted, her voice rising with the fervor of a thousand shared stories. "We can't back down now." And in that moment, as the crowd erupted in agreement, she understood this was about more than just fighting Jack. It was about redefining who they were, what they could achieve. It was a chance to stand tall, hand in hand, united against the darkness. What lay ahead felt uncertain, but there was no turning back now. They would face whatever was coming, together if only they could muster enough strength to overcome Jack's challenge. Would the wall fall one last time, or would the spirit of the community rise like a phoenix from its ashes? Emma could feel the question pulse around her, igniting their shared hope in the fight to come. The crowd surged around Emma, a living entity, pulsing with the thrill of possibility. People were no longer just faces in the crowd, they were friends, neighbors, everyone connected by the fragile threads of shared aspiration. Emma could see it in their eyes, hope igniting like sparks dancing in the air. They were ready to take on Jack's challenge, but doubt lingered in the recesses of her mind. What if it wasn't enough? As the minutes ticked away, Emma called out to the crowd, "Let us share our best stories. What makes us believe today? Why do we fight for our community?" The energy shifted. Voices rose as one after another stepped forward, some trembling with emotion, others firm with conviction. A young woman with tears glistening in her eyes spoke of her mother who fought cancer while raising 3 kids alone. "She believed in dreams. She gave me hope, and that's why I'm here." Another man, older and grizzled, talked about making sure no one in his neighborhood went hungry during the winter months. "We've got to support each other. If we can't count on each other, what do we have left?" With every story shared, the box filled just a little more, but their clock was ticking down a relentless countdown. Emma spotted Jack standing off to the side, arms crossed, his smirk growing wider with each moment of uncertainty he detected in the crowd. He was waiting for them to falter, to crack under the pressure. But not today. Emma took a deep breath, her voice steady. You all know what unites us. We're not just fighting for funds, we're fighting to honor every single story here today. Cheers erupted from the crowd, drowning out any whispers of doubt. Emma held her breath, pushing back the tidal wave of fear. The box was filling, but was it filling fast enough? Just as the energy peaked, a voice rang out, cutting through the noise. It belonged to Jack. How quaint, watching you all hold hands and sing songs. But what happens when you hit zero? What's left then? That struck a nerve. Emma felt the pulse of panic beneath the bravado she wielded. She turned to face Jack, her heart racing. You think we're just about stories? You think we're weak? Her entreaty rippled through the crowd. You're seeing this all wrong. It's about more than any dollar figure. Jack raised an eyebrow, unfazed. Then prove it. The crowd quieted, each individual holding their breath. Emma felt exposed, the pressure building around her until she was convinced she could hear her own heartbeat echoing in her ears. We have to show him. Lily shouted, breaking the silence. We need to step up even more. Let us bring someone else to share their story who hasn't been heard yet. A ripple of agreement followed. More people began to step forward, and the energy shifted again. Emma could feel the warmth of their courage pouring off her friends like ripples of light dancing around. She focused on them, their smiles, their sincerity, their resolve. They were filled with a newfound spirit, dispelling shadows that had crept in with Jack's taunts. This wasn't just another plea, this was a battle cry. It was something elemental, something that resonated with the deepest parts of human experience and connection. They would not let Jack define them. They would not let him take their hope or their stories. Minutes passed like hours, and the box before them bulged with bills and coins, yet still, Emma's heart pounded with anxiety. She turned and glanced at the clock again. It was down to 10 minutes. She couldn't shake the thought that time might slip away before victory could be theirs. Let us rally together. Emma called, raising her voice to rise above the excitement. Every voice counts. Every dollar is a step closer. As more stories came pouring out, Emma locked eyes with her sister in the crowd. Unwavering. Strong. It was a reflection of the legacy they were building, the battles they won before, and the unity they shared. Every contribution, every word woven into the air, drew the community closer to each other. As she watched the box fill, Jack's confidence began to falter. But just then, the atmosphere shifted again. A new figure emerged from the back of the crowd, someone Emma recognized but hadn't seen in ages, their childhood friend who had left town chasing her own dreams. What had brought her back? Emma felt a swell of curiosity and apprehension wash over her. What would this newcomer reveal? Would she be the spark that tipped the scales? The crowd hushed, all eyes on this unexpected arrival. In that moment, the stakes felt impossibly high. Emma's heart raced with both fear and exhilaration. Would they ride this wave of momentum straight into victory? Or would doubts creep back like shadows as the clock continued counting down? The crowd parted like waves as Emma's childhood friend, Mia, stepped forward. Emma's heart leaped, both at the sight of Mia and the uncertain silence that followed. What brought her back now, of all times? Mia's face was familiar, but there was an edge to her demeanor that Emma hadn't seen before. She looked at Emma, then scanned the gathering crowd, sensing the urgency in the air. Emma felt the familiar bond stir, but with it came a wave of apprehension. They had spent countless summers together, sharing dreams under the sun, but life had a way of changing paths. Mia. What are you doing here? Emma managed, her voice steady despite the swell of emotions. I heard what's happening. I couldn't just stand by, Mia replied, her voice steady yet filled with an intensity Emma hadn't expected. I have something to share. The crowd leaned in, ready to embrace whatever came next. Emma's fingers tingled with hope. Could this be the rallying moment they needed? Mia took a deep breath, refocusing her gaze on the audience. When I left, I thought I was chasing my dreams, just like many of you. I was a small-town girl in a big world, and I thought that meant leaving home behind. But... Her voice trailed off as she locked eyes with Emma again, a bittersweet smile gracing her lips. But what I found out there was that dreams don't exist in isolation. I faced struggles, failures, and moments when I thought I lost every ounce of hope. But no matter where I went, it was the memories of our community that pulled me through. Gasps echoed throughout the crowd, the air thick with shared feelings of longing and camaraderie. Emma noticed several faces nodding, understanding the weight of Mia's words. Everyone had their own stories of struggle, this was a common thread connecting them. Emma felt tears welling up, pride and awe swelling within her as Mia continued. I'm back because I've learned that community isn't just a place, it's a tapestry of all our stories woven together. When I didn't feel strong enough to stand alone, it was the thought of home, of all of you, that gave me strength. Yes. Lily shouted, pumping her fist. The crowd erupted, a chorus of cheers reverberating through the air. Mia smiled, emboldened by the audience's reaction. We're not weak, we're stronger together. I was one of those who thought they could do it alone, but now I see how vital every single voice is. Her words seemed to radiate throughout the gathering, igniting sparks of determination in each listener's heart. Emma's heart soared. They had another voice, another story, one that resonated with their mission. As Mia stepped down from the small makeshift stage, she has filled the box with her own contribution, a few notes, crumpled but filled with significance. Emma rushed to her side, pulling her into a bear hug. You have no idea how much this means, Emma whispered, her voice breaking with emotion, but Jack wasn't done. He stepped forward, arms still crossed, a dark look on his face. How touching, he began, the sarcasm palpable. But can one story really tip the scales? What if you run out of time and effort? The air thickened as Emma turned to face him, resolve bubbling to the surface. It's not just one story, Jack. It's 1,000 stories, it's the power of community. We don't need to wait for perfection to make a difference. Jack's smirk faltered for a moment. The crowd stirred, feeling the energy shift once more. But the clock ticked ominously close to zero. Emma sensed the urgency pressing down heavily on her chest. Everyone here is ready to fight for their stories. We can't let this moment slip away. The atmosphere felt electric, charging the air with potential and fear. Would they be able to gather enough to prove their worth before the time ran out? The clock glowed down to 3 minutes, and Emma could see the uncertainty flickering in some faces. Would Mia's return pull them through, or would doubt cast a shadow over everything they had fought for? As the tension mounted, Emma grasped the edges of the box filled with contributions, and a brand new perspective ignited within her. Could one last story change everything? Just then, she caught sight of Mia again, a flicker of determination shining in her eyes. Emma knew they weren't out of options yet. Let's bring everyone forward, our stories are too important to keep silent. With the crowd rallied and a sense of urgency igniting, Emma stood at the edge, ready for the next voice to emerge. But as she glanced down at the growing pile before her, she suddenly felt a dark premonition of what lay ahead. Would they find that final push for victory, or would Jack's taunts tear them apart just when they needed each other the most? Emma's voice rang out, steady amid the rising tide of uncertainty. Who's next? She called, eyes darting around the crowd. She felt the weight of the moment pressing down, but with it sparked a flicker of emboldened hope. A tall figure stepped forward, hesitation painted across his face. It was Ethan, someone Emma had not expected. He had always been the quiet one, always quietly supportive in their childhood games, but never the one to take the spotlight. Seeing him there, however, a sense of pride swelled in her chest. "Ethan, you have something to share." Emma encouraged, knowing how hard it could be to step out of the shadows. That he nodded slowly, his hands clasped together tightly. I do. It's not much," but he took a deep breath, and the silence that followed was thick with anticipation. "Last year, I lost my job. It felt like my life crumbled overnight. I thought I was all alone in it." The crowd shifted, empathy rolling through them at his vulnerability. Emma's heart raced. She had no idea he had gone through that. But then, something amazing happened, Ethan continued, his voice growing stronger. "I reached out to some friends, people in this very community. You guys supported me more than I could have imagined. Without you, I wouldn't have found the courage to pick myself back up. I was able to get help and guidance," and he paused, glancing at the clock. "I'm standing here today, not just as a survivor of my own struggles but as someone ready to fight for all of us." The crowd erupted into cheers, a wave of unity washing over them. A shared understanding, a recognition of the battles fought and won, echoed through the space. Emma felt a tear roll down her cheek as she watched the smile break on Ethan's face. There was something transformative about sharing struggles that brought them closer together. "That's it, Ethan," she shouted, "you're not alone anymore." One after another, voices emerged. Mary shared her journey of loss and renewal, Liam spoke about his fight against depression, even Jack's tone softened as he admitted his fears of failure. Each contribution was like a thread weaving a stronger tapestry of community, yet, amid these brave voices, Emma's mind could not shake the lingering tension from Jack. Was he still a spark waiting to ignite something darker? As the clock dwindled to 1 minute, a shadow crossed her heart, and fear gnawed at her resolve. "Okay, everyone," Emma called, trying to capture the gathered energy. "We need one more push to show our strength. One more story." Suddenly, a new voice broke through the excitement. A girl Emma barely recognized emerged from the outer orbit of the crowd. Her hair was unkempt, and her clothes didn't seem to fit quite right. Emma's heart sank. This was Sarah, someone she once considered a friend, but lost touch over the years. I don't have a perfect story," Sarah started, her voice wavering. "But I've felt lost and alone. I always thought my pain wasn't worthy enough to share." The crowd quieted, a palpable tension in the air. Emma instinctively pushed forward, wanting to encourage her. "You're here now, Sarah. That's what counts." Gathering her courage, Sarah continued, "I've fought against being invisible, and sometimes it made me angry. Angry enough to keep my distance from all of you." Before she could finish, Jack let out a derisive laugh, breaking the fragile bond of understanding. "What does it matter now? You think you can change anything by sharing? Look around." The outburst reeked of doubt, slipping back into the tension Emma had fought so fiercely against. But then, before Emma could react, Mia stepped forward beside Sarah, her gaze fiercely protective. "It matters, Jack. Every voice matters." Just then, Sarah's eyes flicked to Emma, begging for assurance. Emma felt her heart race. The clock was ticking down. This was about more than just words. They were fighting for the lifeblood of their community. Emma drew a deep breath and spoke from her heart. Let her speak. Everyone deserves a chance to be heard. The air hung heavy as everyone waited. With Jack still looming, Emma wondered if this moment would rally them or create a ripple of division. As they all stood together, Emma felt a growing connection, which called out for hope amid despair. But what lay at the end of this moment of vulnerability? Would it lead them to victory or push them further apart? Sarah's trembling hands were all that stood between their past and a shared future. Would she find the voice to shatter the darkness threatening to close in? Sarah took a deep breath, her eyes welling with tears as she steadied herself against the tide of emotions threatening to pull her under. I've hesitated for too long, she said, her voice gaining strength. Afraid my struggles didn't compare to the grand stories others told. But the truth is, we all have something to offer no matter how small it seems. Emma stepped closer, filling the gap, holding out her hand in a show of support. You're not alone, Sarah. Share your truth. The crowd leaned in, drawn closer, and Emma felt the energy shift in a way she hadn't expected. Maybe Sarah's journey mattered just as much as anyone else's. I've faced my own dark days, Sarah continued, her breath uneven but her spirit firm. The moments when I felt invisible to everyone. When I thought my worth was tied to how well I succeeded or how pretty my life looked on the outside. As Sarah's words flowed, Emma's chest felt lighter, the fear binding her easing with every heartfelt confession. But standing here, Sarah said, her voice thickening, I finally understand the power of our community. I see how you've all fought through your battles and still come together for one another. Maybe I didn't realize it before, but your strength has always been waiting for me to reach for it. And today, I choose to be a part of it. Cheers erupted from the crowd again, a tide of support sweeping over them all. Emma's heart soared. In a singular moment, they were stepping away from isolation, embracing connection and unity. With renewed fervor, Sarah plunged forward into the crowd, reaching the donation box, her trembling hands placing in a handful of crumpled bills. The gesture felt symbolic, every small act mattered. The room filled with applause, the community affirming her struggle, acknowledging her bravery. As Sarah returned to Emma, their eyes met, a shared understanding grounding their connection. They both carried burdens, yet here they were, teaching each other the transformative power of stepping into the light. Just look at the box. Lily exclaimed, her voice cutting through the ambience, we're almost there, everyone. And they were. The donations were pouring in, each contribution strengthening the bond among them. The clock ticked down to the final seconds, but determination blanketed the urgent whispers bubbling through the crowd. Emma turned to Jack, who stood rigid, a frown tightening his features. You see what happens when a community is united? She challenged, her tone firm. We will not let fear or doubt dictate our worth. But Jack's defiance lingered, the last remnants of his grip faltering. And what happens when the hope turns sour? He countered, casting his gaze over the assembly. What will you do when the box is empty? In that moment, as the final few seconds passed and the crowd began chanting for more stories, Emma realized something essential. It's not the destination that defines us but our journey to it. We are already victorious because we're here together, fighting for one another, not just a dollar amount. With those words, the echo of unwavering solidarity joined in crescendo, resonating through the community gym. Past hurts faded, realization took root, true strength lay buried within every story shared. The countdown ceased, bringing with it a collective breath that filled the room. Emma met the eyes of her sister, pride washing over them both. There was something beautiful in the unison they had built, a tapestry rich with every thread woven through sweat, tears, and an unyielding belief. As applause thundered around her, Emma's gaze fell upon the donation box. It was nearly full, overflowing with hope, reflecting the love and resilience residing in every heart in that room. The triumph was not just in the numbers but in the unity they had fostered. Each voice mattered. They hadn't just raised funds but had also set about igniting hope across their weary town. Jack stared, the shadow of his challenge evaporating before their very eyes. The crowd pressed forward, encouragement cascading where once he had only sown doubt. Thank you, Emma said, her voice loud enough to shatter the tension hanging in the air. We've shown ourselves what it means to stand together. We refuse to let fear drown out our voices any longer. In that moment, the tides turned irreversibly. As they enveloped each other in a group embrace, a burst of laughter and hope swirled around, cementing sweet victory. They had faced the storm together and emerged resilient. And as the gym buzzed with stories, joyfulness took root, casting out shadows of the past. Together they'd risen and transformed pain into power, loss into a newfound connection. Emma couldn't help but tear up, feeling love wash over her like a warm wave. Remember this feeling, she whispered to Lily, where we've come from and where we're going. Always, Lily replied, her eyes glistening with resolve. They understood, today they had changed not only their lives but also the life of their community. As their hearts swelled with endless possibilities, Emma knew one thing for sure: this was just the beginning. And with that, Emma turned to the camera, addressing the invisible audience watching. You need to subscribe now, you don't want to miss these incredible stories as they unfold. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it really helps us out. I want to hear your reactions. Comment below, share your feelings about this journey. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. True fans make a difference, and you are part of this amazing community. And together, they would continue transforming lives, one story at a time.